changing the coolant. 5 litres of ready mixed, 200mm, and I have 2 Gay Gordons plumber's clamps. I have 2, probably better if you have 3. The trickiest part of the job, the crux of the job, is removing the clamp from the bottom part of the radiator. You will also need a length of silicone pipe. The length you will need is at least 600mm, and the bore will have to be 6mm, and that is for air bleeding once you have drained the system. There are 2 connectors to the radiator, as you would suspect. This is the lower clamp, and it's actually particularly tricky to actually access. Since replacing it, I've turned it 90 degrees, but the clamps are immediately at the side. The access is difficult. There is a second, which is of the bottom hose, which is connected just below the air conditioning unit, and that is an alternative. So it depends on the tool that you have and the access. So once you've taken off the floor pan, look at both connections. The hose is held centrally and is plastic tie gripped in place. That obviously needs cutting so the pipe can be moved out, and then you have flexibility to either disconnect from the standing or the bottom of the radiator. It's important that you assess what is easiest. This is the most difficult part of the job, not just removing the clamp on the bottom hose, but replacing the clamp on the bottom hose so that it forms a seal. There are 2 standing air vents on the coolant system. By locating this red soundproofing clip, it is immediately below, and you'll just with your fingers be able to feel the valve itself, and that is where the location is in the engine bay. Very difficult at the far back of the engine, but it is upstanding. It is vertical air vent. It is a duplicate of this air vent, which is beneath the filler cap. You can just make it out. It is easier to access, and it's immediately below and to the right of the filler cap on a return pipe. Once the coolant has been drained and the clip has been replaced to the base of the radiator, either one that you select, which is easiest for you with the tools that you have, you need to remove the venting cap at the back of the engine bay, as I pointed out. You need to then put in at least 600mm, 6-inch internal diameter, a hose. And the vent itself is rather like the Schrader valve on the tyre. And you connect it securely onto the standing air vent at the back of the bay, and the other end sits into the reservoir which you've filled to maximum. That will take about 4 litres of coolant. You then start the engine, and that will then bleed the air from the system on the upright standing. There'll be quite prolific amounts of air, and after 5 minutes of running the engine, the air bubbles will diminish and you will see just clear fluid running through. And that is the majority of the work done. You then, on the air vent which is below the engine, just unscrew the cap gently and release any air that is in there, but there'll probably be very little, and then retighten it. Do not over tighten these. These are plastic and they are designed to create a seal with low torque. And these are the pointers that you will need, which is not shown on any of the other videos. It's easy. The difficult, the crux of all this is removing the hose from the radiator and replacing the hose. The clips are difficult to access because of their positioning.